What in the 20s is going
in the
on?
20s
Think about
here.
the 20s.
The 20s, baby. Plenty.
What in the 20s is
I am here for my
20s, baby? This is the 20s.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Zama Mkize, and this is What's in the 20s, a podcast where you listen to me grow through its baby. On this episode, we're going to be speaking about basically speaking things into existence. I know that I had made an episode speaking about like how it's in the episode titled Stop Putting Things Off. And I was just basically speaking about like how I want to go into skincare and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, it's something I've wanted for a very long time. And I was just kind of, being vulnerable and talking about like this is something that has been on my heart for some time and all of that. And what was so crazy was that I had received an email basically inviting me to the skincare brand's launch of a new product and all of that kind of stuff, and just wanting to work with me. And I was just so shocked and so like, did this just like a week later, I think it was a week later after talking about it and stuff like that on the podcast. And I couldn't believe it. And of course, a lot of it could just be pure luck, coincidence, all of that kind of stuff. But I think when I started reflecting on a lot of my life and my vision boards and stuff, when I just started speaking things, saying out loud what I wanted, kind of just putting it out there, what is really on my heart and stuff like that, I've genuinely started seeing myself tick things off. I started seeing myself like get into those spaces and those rooms and all of that kind of stuff, because I've started claiming, and just acting in accordance with what it is that I say that I want for myself or what is going on in my life. It's so crazy, but like, let's go into it, right? I think we should begin with why we tend to, not want to speak up and speak about things that we want and stuff like that. I think very often we're so terrified. Oh my gosh, so terrified. And we won't admit it, but we're so terrified about what other people will think. I know that I'm like that a lot, how they're going to receive it. If they would appreciate it, if they think I'm capable, if they think I would be great at it and stuff like that, if they think I'm cringe, if they think I'm, what I'm saying? Like, we're so absorbed. And so we don't say anything at all. Like, we just keep quiet about this thing that I have, if they think I'm too pompous or whatever, or pretentious or arrogant and stuff, for saying I want this thing and stuff like that. Or there's this thing that I'm doing or this thing that I'm pursuing and we think maybe our friends would be like, okay, girl, like, okay, whatever, so anyways, Chad. And I think we are so, we're so hell-bent, like we're so caught up in that little, I don't know how someone's going to take it, so I'm just not going to say it out loud and all of that kind of stuff. I think that we are afraid of rejection. We're afraid that if we say what we want, it won't choose us, it won't want us, we're afraid that it won't work out for us. We're afraid of hearing no, I just, just that thing of like, oh, I want this thing, and then it's just like oh, you can't have it. That's so devastating, and that rejection of it just feels so insane. So we'd rather just not say it at all. We'd rather just not say we want this title, this position, this relationship, this partner, this whatever, because it's like we don't want to have to deal with the rejection of it and stuff like that. I think that we have failure. There's a lot of, we fear failure, that it doesn't work out. So we don't want to speak about it, because if it does fail, at least nobody knew, nobody knew that this was something I wanted and stuff like that. So I can just keep moving and pretend like it didn't happen and stuff like that. We fear that it all falls apart right in front of everybody and stuff like that. So let me not even embarrass myself. Let me not put myself through the torture and the agony of public humiliation and all of that kind of stuff. I'd rather just stay in my little corner, not say it, not not even believe that this is something that I want, even though I know that it is, even though it's something that I'm interested in and stuff like that. We fear that it's just not us, maybe everybody else, but not us. We fear the disappointment that we would have to sit in if it doesn't work out, if we fail, if we lose, if it just get if it just kind of falls apart, that disappointment of it, of like, I wanted this thing and it didn't work out. I wanted this relationship with this partner and it didn't work out. I wanted this job with this title and all of that, but it didn't work out. I wanted this career path. I had this dream, it's so painful grieving dreams, let me tell you. And so because you don't have to deal with that disappointment and that heartache, it's just so much easier to not say it at all, to not even speak. Sorry, I'm laughing because, I don't want to go into the topic of manifestation, because I don't feel qualified to speak about that, because I think that a lot of it really is so many factors. It's so many other factors, that plays into the things that we speak about and stuff like that. But I think when I talk about it, I'm talking about a sense of like delusion coupled with effort, a sense of delusion coupled with a belief and action, that I can be and do and have what it is I'm speaking out loud, But okay, let's just go into it. So the impact, right? The impact of not speaking about things that you want and speaking things into existence and stuff like that is that it affects your self-esteem and confidence. If you don't say that I am deserving of this job or whatever it is, if you don't say I want this title, blah, 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 or I can do this, something as simple as that, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, When we don't say it, we don't believe it. We don't think it. We can't even conceive it, right? Because we control what we think about ourselves. We control our thoughts. We control our brain and our mind. And so when we don't speak positive things into our lives, when we don't speak, with conviction about good things, great things happening to us and for us and stuff like that, it will mess with your ability to see yourself as somebody capable of doing and being, and therefore affects your confidence. You will have low self-esteem in areas and rooms that you take up because you don't speak to yourself as someone deserving of being in those spaces and having those things. You will feel so less confident, less deserving, less this and that in anything and everything that you do because you don't speak to yourself in a way that recognizes your achievements, recognizes your hard work, your efforts, your ability, your strength, your work ethic and all that kind of stuff. You don't speak to yourself as someone who's got this, like, when you're able to just push for that last little, rep, that sets that you're doing maybe in the gym or whatever it is when you're working out and stuff like that. It's because you're telling yourself, come on, push, you can do it. And what happens? You do it, right? Because you said to yourself, do it, just push one more. And we need to be able to get ourselves in the habit of saying that because it's affecting our belief in ourselves. The way that we speak to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's affecting the way that we see ourselves and understand ourselves to be and our realities to be. Because the way that we think creates how we feel, creates our mood, our attitudes, which essentially all in the end creates our world, our reality, And I think that as I'm saying all of this, it's like the effects of it will affect your mindset, your mindset towards certain tasks, certain things that come into your life, certain people that come into your life and all of that kind of stuff. It'll affect it in a sense that you could either see this really negatively, you could really see this as something that is draining you, that is too much effort, that is pulling you down, or you could see it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, to be challenged, to be stretched, to do better, to be more, and all of that kind of stuff. I think if our mindset shifts and stuff because of the way that we're speaking to ourselves, the way that we're speaking things into existence, I find that I have more energy. It's going to sound so ridiculous. I find that I have more energy when I trick myself to have energy, So I guess just being realistic and honest, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. I was just feeling really low, really down, really just I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what's going on, And I've essentially just, I don't know, I have so much energy right now. And because I feel like I've kind of faked until I made it into this reality right now, a couple of hours later, I feel like I've just started behaving as if I feel confident, as if I feel great, as if I feel as if I feel like so ready and so pumped and all of that. And I don't know, in a way, your brain releases those happy chemicals, you know, those hormones and stuff that make you feel just like ready and stuff. And why? Because I said it, you know, in the car before I got out and came here into the studio and stuff. I was just saying to myself, come on, Zama, you got this. You can do it. Let's go. You know, I have to hype myself up. I have to give myself the pep talk. And I think you'd be surprised how many successful people give themselves pep talks constantly, all the time, because no one's confident all the time, but you just have to give yourself that boost, man. You got to give yourself that charge that tells you, no, man, but I can do this. You know, I'm ready for this. You know, I'm the man for the job. Like, and you have to keep saying it until you just believe it. Like, oh, I can make that one more push, that one more set. And you have to say it, you know, and it will affect your confidence. It will affect how you show up because of the way that you're setting your mindset to be. I think that if we are thinking about things negatively, we limit our willpower. We limit, because so back to the example of the fact that I woke up this morning not feeling great. I think if I gave into that energy, I would have just not showed up. I maybe would have cancelled my session. I would, like, who knows what I would have done, you know? I would have maybe come into the studio with a bad attitude, recorded with a terrible attitude and all that kind of stuff. Like, my willpower to want to just make the best out of the situation, want to give my best and stuff would be so depleted. And it happens in everything in our lives because we're not speaking positive and good things to ourselves and stuff like that. We just don't feel like we have the willpower to wake up in the mornings, willpower to go to the gym because we're just like, oh, I don't know, I'm feeling tired. Oh, I just don't feel like I'm in the mood. Oh, it's just too much effort. You know, just even the even that will just drain you, suck the life out of you and the energy out of you. And you'll just not have the discipline and the consistency to be able to show up for your goals, for yourself, for the things that you need to get done, you know, because you're giving into that part of you that's just so used to not, man, there's this thing in our brains. I forgot what it's called. And forgive me, I'm so sorry that I forgot what it's called. But essentially, it's a part of your brain where when you do hard things and difficult tasks and all of that kind of stuff, when you're able to be resilient and push through certain emotions and feelings, it grows, which is amazing because the more you're able to do it, the more that it grows, the more that it teaches you that you can do difficult things, that you can, you know, do something that's tough. I should make an episode on it. But anyways, yeah, that it's not, you're not in danger if you take a cold shower in the morning and stuff like that. You're able to withstand that. And in turn, you will move in the direction, you know, of persistence and stuff like that because you're teaching yourself that you can. Whereas the opposite happens, it shrinks the less that we push ourselves to do difficult things, waking up when our alarm goes off and all of that kind of stuff. When we just choose to just kind of stay in, miss this, be delayed for that, not show up for this and all of that kind of stuff, we become so comfortable that we teach ourselves to be so content with disappointing ourselves. We teach ourselves to not show up. We teach ourselves to not be reliable, to not count on ourselves. You know, we don't even believe and trust ourselves because we have evidence to show that we keep letting ourselves down, that we keep leaving ourselves in self-abandonment and all the rest. And so, yeah, like I think it's such a great, when I say that we can control the way we think, especially with things like neuroplasticity, neuroscience and all that, like I feel like it teaches us that our brains can literally change based off our mindset and our attitude and what we teach it, what we want it to believe about ourselves and about our reality and all the rest. But I digress. I think that if you are constantly in a negative state or whatever it is, or you don't speak things into existence and stuff, we can avoid accountability, right? And by that is, I think sometimes we're afraid of saying things out loud, what we want, because now we're being held accountable. You know, people are now going to be like, oh, but didn't you say that you're on a diet now? Oh, but didn't you say that you're going to be doing this and wanting this and whatever it is? Like, we fear somebody holding us accountable, even ourselves, because we don't want to disappoint ourselves. So you don't want to say it out loud to begin with, right? And that's the thing. It's like we're able to evade accountability for the life that we want for ourselves. And we're able to blame anything and everything else and stuff like that because we're not speaking out loud what it is that we initially wanted and intended and what our expectations were for something and all of that. And so I think accountability is so important. Like, I think when you're able to speak things out loud and stuff, because I knew me saying what I said on the podcast about wanting to do skincare, now it wasn't just me holding myself accountable. It was everybody who listened, who watched, who whatever, who knows that this is a dream that I have for myself. And this was something that like, like I feel exposed and make me feel vulnerable. And that's the thing we avoid. We don't want that. We don't want to feel like, oh, now people know what I want. because it just feels so much easier to quit when we don't have to take accountability. And so I really encourage that. I think that there's a lot of room for doubt when we don't say things out loud that we want. I think that because our mindset isn't really believing and whatever, and we're not saying, oh, I want this thing, I can do this, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am confident, I am, you know what I'm saying? We create so much room for other doubts to take place. So remember thoughts, right? There's so many thoughts that happen per minute in our brain, right? And we're constantly choosing which one to pay attention to, which ones to let go of and stuff like that. So if you're not constantly speaking good and great things and stuff on your life, we give room for all the negative thoughts that aren't even really your own thoughts necessarily, kind of take up more space, you know? And now that they're taking up space, we end up believing it and seeing it as truth, you know? Whereas we should be doing the opposite. I think the more that you speak great things upon yourself and your life and all of that kind of stuff, the more that you challenge the negative thoughts, the more that you challenge the thoughts that tell you that you can't do this, that you can't be this, that you can't have this, you know, and all of that kind of stuff, the more that you're able to counteract it and kind of just, you know, let it slide off, you know, that it doesn't even enter your stream of consciousness to believe that you won't make it and stuff like that, because you're actively engaging and like just saying, I'm going to make it. Like, I'm going to get that. I'm going to go there. I'm going to be that. You know what I'm saying? I think that when we are not saying things out loud, we miss the opportunity for other people to invest and assist, you know, with our plans, with our goals and stuff like that. So I think if I had never said that I was interested in skincare, no one would have known to even email me. You know, no one would have known to even consider me. No one would even know to, you know, have me in the room and all of that, because I had not even mentioned that. So people can't even, you know, invest in this thing this desire that I have, this dream that I have and all the rest, because they don't even know, like, oh, I didn't know that you were, you know, you should have told me. You know, when someone says, oh, you should have told me. Oh, I hate hearing that. You know, when you learn that there's something that could have been done about something, but because you didn't say it out loud what you wanted and stuff like that, you missed the opportunity, you missed the boat and stuff like that. So like, yeah, that's what I think. I think that we miss, so even with assistance, right? Someone who has probably gone through what you're trying to get through can offer you advice, what to avoid, what to look out for. Oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. Let me tell you how to do this, how to run a business, how to this and that, who you should hire, what you should consider when hiring somebody and all of that kind of stuff, what you should avoid. You know, like there are people who are able to offer assistance when you're saying what it is that you want. When you're saying what it is that you're claiming for your life, you know, and they cannot do that if they don't have access, you know, to what's existing in our minds. I think we're so afraid that like, oh, somebody might steal my ideas, or somebody might this and that, somebody might, like, we're so plagued by fear. We need to, you know, obviously around people we trust, but we need to be able to, you know, share, you know, because how can we grow? How can we grow this thing that's on your heart and stuff like that? You'd be so surprised. I think that was like one of the biggest things that I've come to learn, like being so surprised how many people are willing to help me, you know, how many people are willing to show up, how many people are willing to bridge the gap for the things that I don't know, the things that I don't understand and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's so much nicer when you're having anecdotal kind of assistance, you know, people who are able to give from the experience and stuff like that, as to how to get you to where you want to be. So how do we do it, right? We need to be able to say the things that we want out loud. We are 3 times, even maybe 4 times likely to do something, to achieve something, all of that kind of stuff when we're saying it out loud. Because I think when we're just thinking it, like, you know, it's just, it just stays in our head. But when we say it out loud, again, it goes to that word of manifesting or whatever it is. But I mean, like, when we say it out loud, we now put it into the atmosphere. We're putting it into our communities, into our environment, the people around us and stuff like that. Anyone who's listening and paying attention is saying, you know, like, learn to say it out loud, you know, so that even your brain hears it back. You know, your brain is hearing what you're saying about yourself and picks that up as information, important information, you know. So you need to be mindful. Is it good things? Is it bad things? Is it negative things? Is it things that are going to propel you and all of that kind of stuff? Repeat the affirmation, you know, like, don't just say it once and then move on with your day and whatever it is. Like, I think in your life, you need to constantly remind yourself, because there are always going to be challenges and things that come in your life that feel like a setback. They feel like it's slowing you down, pulling you back, bringing you, just in a different direction than what you had initially sought out and stuff like that. You need to repeat the affirmation to yourself again. I am confident, I am able to do this. I do belong in this space. I do belong in this room, and whatever it is, I can do this job. I can do this project, this task and stuff. I am a good friend. I am a good partner. I am, just whatever it is that you want more of yourself to be and stuff like that. And you need to just repeat it. And it can't just, like, even when I say like one more, you don't just say one more once, when you're pushing that little weight and stuff, you gotta go one more, just, when you repeat it and stuff, it's, you're kind of automating that into your brain, you're layering it and stuff, and it's forming like a hard drive, like a file in your brain. And, that's what I mean. The more that you do something, the Bible says that, sure, I'm going to get this wrong, but I believe that like the word comes from hearing and hearing and hearing, and even when we say, the Lord's Prayer, we say, give us this daily bread, right? Which tells us that every day we should be praying, every day we should be seeking for his kingdom and stuff like that. It's a repetition of this thing, and that's how we get it into us. It's like how we embody being more Christ-like and stuff like that. It's just daily practice of being and saying, the Bible tells us even so many times about that which he thinketh or saith, or it be, it will be and stuff like that. And I think it's so shall it be, sorry. And I think it's like we don't realize the power of the tongue and what we're actually just kind of putting out into the world when we're speaking and all that kind of stuff. Again, as I said, we need to learn how to counteract negative thoughts. We need to become warriors. Guys, like, I'm being so serious, warriors of our brains, like even when somebody makes a negative comment or projects negativity into our lives, into our futures, into our plans, into who we are and stuff like that, we need to learn to, denounce that thing. We need to learn to reject that thing. We need to learn to say, no and stuff like that, instead of letting it kind of simmer and then form part of our mindsets and stuff like that. And then we start internalizing that as truth. We need to counteract those negative thoughts and sayings and words and prayers or whatever, and just get back in your groove, remind, I am healthy, I am able, and all of that kind of stuff. And as I always am, like, because I serve a God who is more than able, like I can do this and things like that. I think that we need to learn to let who we are align who it is that we say that we are and stuff. And so again, when I speak about acting in accordance with who it is you keep saying that you are or what it is, I'm saying, be that person and stuff like that. That's also how you become more reliable and how you trust yourself better and stuff like that. So make sure that your identity is in alignment and is in progression and all of that kind of stuff with what it is that you're wanting for yourself and stuff like that. I think that consistency and discipline is the highest form of self-love. For me personally, I think that I let myself down not when I don't do something, but when I started doing something and I don't finish, that's when I feel the most disappointed in myself, because I really showed that I can do it by starting, but because I wasn't consistent, because I didn't have the discipline to show up even when I didn't feel like it, I told myself to stop. And nothing hurts me more than that. Nothing hurts because I've proven that I'm able, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not even a situation where I'm like, this was out of my hands, this was this and that. Like, I could have done it, but because I was tired or because I was moody or because I was this and that, whatever it is, I didn't believe in myself or whatever, it didn't happen for me. And I don't like sitting in that. And so consistency and discipline really is, it really is a huge part of getting to where you want to be, being able to do the same thing every day. It's as simple as that. Try to keep things as simple as that. And I think that we need to imagine the highest form of things going right. When we're like, what if it goes exactly the way you want? What if it goes even better than you thought it could be? And all of that kind of stuff. And so when you're imagining the highest form of it, because I don't want you to be self-limiting and think like, just stop here or whatever it is and stuff. Like, this is enough for me. Like, imagine just, when you think about your perfect day or your perfect, what is a good day to you? What is a good outcome for you? what is the best outcome actually for you, the best scenario, the best case scenario this could go, and all of that kind of stuff. I think it really pulls us in the direction of challenging us to be more, to be great, you know. And I love that. I love when we feel like we're expanding, because that's an abundance mindset. And so, yeah, that's what I want to speak about today, is learn how to speak things into existence, learn how to say things out loud, learn how to counteract what doesn't serve you and all of that kind of stuff. Like, just start talking. Obviously, I don't mean in the sense of like saying anything. And I know that even, for example, I went to an event with Pan Macmillan. They're a publishing house, and they're publishers, sorry. And essentially they were asking, okay, so what type of books are you actually like interested in doing next and all of that? And I was like, you know what? I've never considered, you know, novels and fiction and all of that kind of stuff, because I always write nonfiction or whatever. I'd love to do children's books. I'd love to, you know, challenge myself in that way. Like, you know, what a cool thing. It's something I've never done, and whatever it is. And it feels so insane, because I'm like, I would never tell anybody that, you know, because it's always been something that's always been playing in my mind for a couple of years, but I just never said it because I'm like, no one will take me seriously. But I just started letting myself known and my intentions known in a room of people who are writers and stuff. Like, I would love to do children's books and stuff. And it's just learning how to not keep your cards so close to your chest, but share. And you'd be so surprised what would happen to you, you know, when you're able to do that. But yeah. So let's speak some positive, exciting, ambitious things into our lives. As always, I'm sending my love. Goodbye.
What in the 20s is going
in the
on?
20s?
Think about
Yeah.
the 20s, baby. What in the 20s is going on? I am here for my 20s, baby. This is the 20s.